Welcome everybody to another episode of Top to Bottom. In today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the new XXXTentacion album, Bad Vibes Forever. Just a little bit of background, I was a pretty big XXXTentacion fan. I was very saddened when I heard that he unfortunately passed away due to being shot in his car. X played a pretty big part in my life. I really enjoyed his music, specifically his 17 album. I really resonated with that album, and while the album got a lot of hate and a lot of people didn't review it very well and they didn't like it, I personally loved it. It's actually one of my favorite albums of all time. If I had to give it a rating, no joke, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I personally really loved 17. For some reason, that album just really connected with me. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe because at the time I was in a really dark place in my life. However, if I do need to listen to that album and I still want to listen to it, I find that I still enjoy it today as much as I did back then. Not that I relate as much to it as I did in the past, but I still enjoy it. But I will admit that after that album, X kind of put out lackluster music. I didn't feel like all of his songs sucked, but I did feel like his follow-up albums weren't that great. Question Mark wasn't that great. There was another one that came up after that. I completely forgot the name of it because it's completely forgettable. But anyway, that leaves us with Bad Vibes Forever, the new XXXTentacion album, and I'm just gonna say this immediately off the start. This is a horrible album. This is one of the worst albums I have ever had to subject myself to listening to. I'll give some more final thoughts towards the end of this video, but for now, let's hop into the list. In the 25th spot, we have Eat It Up, and in my opinion, this is one of the worst songs X has ever made. This track is so bad that it's actually hilarious. This entire song is just littered with some of the laziest lyrics I have ever heard from any artist. In the 24th spot, we have School Shooters, and the beat on this thing it's bearable. That is the nicest thing I can say about it. It is at least listenable. But I just gotta ask, what the fuck is X doing on this song? These are genuinely some of the worst vocals I've ever heard in my life. Lil Wayne's performance on this song is also laughably bad. I mean, this whole song just makes me wince at how terrible it is. In the 23rd spot, we have the title track, Bad Vibes Forever. There's something about this track that makes me feel like it's trying to normalize depression. It's trying to normalize sadness. I mean, I get that from this whole album, but there's just something about this song where it's like bad vibes forever. Like it's a fucking good thing or something to be sad, to be depressed. Some of you guys might say the same thing for 17, the album, but personally I didn't pick up on that. But this song just rubs me the wrong way because it just normalizes it so much, and it's just so fucking gross. X's vocals are terrible as well. At certain points it sounds like he's really struggling to sing. Like at times he's trying to lay down vocals and it sounds like he's just like struggling for breath, as if he can't even get the line out. He's like what are you doing? Now I'm no singer, but it sounds like he's singing with his throat rather than his diaphragm, and so he can't get the air out, he can't get the words that he's trying to say out, and it sounds absolutely horrible. PNB Rock and Trippie Redd don't add anything to the song. They're not even worth mentioning. In the 22nd spot, we have Chase/Glass Shards. I don't know who the feature on this song is. Ika Bod Veins or some shit. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. I'm sorry. But his part on this song just sucks. His screaming is super annoying. Also, X sounds like he's about to fall asleep. Like, he's not even fucking trying on this track. In the 21st spot, we have Hot Gal. And this song kind of reminds me of the song he had on Question Mark titled I Don't Even Speak Spanish Lot or something like that, but executed way worse. I enjoyed that track way more than I do this one. Not that I'm a huge fan of songs like this to begin with, they just, you know, they don't work for me that much. It's just way too commercial sounding, and on top of that, the lyrics suck. Tory Lanez and Mavado don't even add anything to the track either. Alright, so this is the part of the video that is a little bit different. All the way from number 20 to number 12, every single one of these songs, in my opinion, is blatant filler. And I'm going to be putting them in this video really quick because I don't want to spend more time talking about these songs than X did making them, or whoever the fuck produced these tracks, whoever put these tracks together and put them out so that they can capitalize on the fact that XXXTentacion is dead. There are 9 songs right here that are just filler. I mean, they offer barely anything. These are all of the filler tracks in my opinion. We have Voss, Numb the Pain, The Interlude That Never Ends, Kill My Vibe, Attention, Before I Realize, I Changed Her Life, the North Star remix, and Triumph. I'm gonna skim through these quite quickly because, as I said, I don't want to pay attention to these too much because there's very little to talk about them to begin with. On the song Voss, X sounds like he's trying to rip off Lil Pump, but I feel like his execution was just terrible. Sauce and Carnage don't add anything to the song either. On the song Numb the Pain, there are these lazy guitars put in the background, and X, for the entirety of the song, is literally repeating the same thing over and over and over again. This song was clearly put here just to rack up streams, to try and get as many plays as possible from this fucking album. It's such an obvious attempt at trying to pad out the track list just as much as possible. On The Interlude That Never Ends, we get the same thing, but instead of guitars, we have pianos, and again, X is repeating the same phrase over and over and over again for the entirety of the track, nothing else. On the song Kill My Vibe, we have lazy lyrics. X sounds bored on this track, like he doesn't even want to be on it, and Tom G just sounds bad, just horrible. Also, the flow of this song, super forgettable. On the song Attention, the beat is basic, forgettable. X is just riffing, saying nothing of substance. On the song Before I Realize, we have, again, these lazy guitars and one of the laziest performances I've ever heard from X. The lyrics in the song have no substance, but there is a specific part in the lyrics that really annoy me, and that is the part where, you know, the instrumental is playing and X is literally just going along with the instrumental. He's literally going dun 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 dun. Just another filler track to add to the amount of filler tracks on this album. The song I Changed Her Life, just horribly boring opening lyrics, and Rick Ross, he shows up for the check, but he sounds as uninteresting as X does on this track. On the song North Star Remix, we have this really trap bassy beat. X's lyrics on this song are so half-assed, and Joyner Lucas of all people makes an appearance. However, his verse isn't really all that good, and honestly, I expected a lot more from him. The whole song overall just ends up being really unoriginal and just plays into the typical stereotypes you would assume with a trap song. It becomes really forgettable, and there's nothing really that it has to offer. This type of sound has just been done to death so much. On the song Triumph, X's singing is mediocre at best. Again, we have this guitar in the background where the same chords are being played over and over again, and once again, X is just taking a phrase and saying it for the entire thing, and this goes on for almost 3 minutes. He just repeats the same thing over and over and over again. But anyway, those are all the filler tracks. There are probably more on this album, but I guess in my criteria for filler tracks, these ones I didn't pick up on. But in the 11th spot, we have Ugly. Actually, sorry, I need to correct that. It's Ugly in all caps because it's not ugly, it's ugly! Kinda like this entire fucking album, to be honest. What do I have to say about this track? There are horrible vocal layerings put in this song. I mean, they sound horrendous. X, again, sounds sleepy, lazy, and on this track specifically, it almost sounds like he's barely opening his mouth, kind of like I'm doing it right now. Like, you can barely understand what he's saying. Like, when people say mumble rap, and I know that that's an overused term, that is exactly what they mean. Like, people who are barely opening their mouths. I sound like fucking Future. This album's so bad, it's got me roasting other artists now. In the 10th spot, we're in top 10 territory. This is where things are gonna get good, right? No. No. In the number 10 spot, we have the song Heart Eater. That, again, is another boring track with an uninteresting instrumental. The lyrics are just substanceless. Nothing to really pull from them. The only redeeming quality I can give this track is that there are some somewhat decent riffs at the 1 minute and 10-second mark on this track. In the 9th spot, we have It's All Fading to Black. This song had the potential to be a somewhat okay closer to the album, a nice send-off, but that doesn't end up being the case because all of a sudden the instrumental just blows up and becomes super unlikable. And on top of that, we have Mark Hoppus that delivers just mediocre singing. Just mediocre at best. In my opinion, not a good closer to the album whatsoever. In the number 8 spot, we have Introduction, and I know this doesn't really count as a song, but there's music playing, so I'm gonna include it in the track list. In my opinion, this song had some potential. It had a nice, spacey, and very natural vibe to it, but in my opinion, it gets completely ruined with the fact that there's like an X interview or like an X speech that is just horribly plastered on top of it. In my opinion, what would have worked way better is if they just let the instrumental just go for the entire track, because then it would have sort of prepared you for the vibe of this album, even though that's not even the vibe that the album was going for. I don't even know what the fuck they were trying to do, but either way, they could have went about this so much better, but you just had to have X talking where it's being recorded with this like horrible microphone that... I don't know why I'm ranting. I'm gonna forget about this album as soon as I'm done with this review. In the number 7 spot, we have Wanna Grow Old, I Won't Let Go. First of all, I just want to mention that the instrumental on this thing kind of sounds a little bit muddy. Maybe there was some issues with the mixing, but if you're listening on a nice pair of headphones, you'll be able to hear some weird distortion with the beat when it gets a little bit louder. They should have probably ironed that out. X, once again, doesn't really deliver anything special on this song, and Jimmy Levi, I have no idea how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry, I don't listen to his music. His singing is okay, but it's not something that I look for when I'm listening to an X song. The vibe he brings, or just the whole feeling that he adds to the track, isn't really compelling to me. In the number 6 spot, we have The Only Time I Feel Alive. This song is just really horrible. First of all, let's talk about X's vocals. They actually, like, scratch my eardrums. They are so irritating. Like, his part actually hurts my ears. It's so bad. One of the worst deliveries I've ever heard. I mean, it literally caused me physical pain listening to it. The only good part to this track, in my opinion, is Craig Zen's part. He actually raps quite nicely over the beat, and somehow reminds me of something that I would get from like a Brockhampton song. Not that I directly want to relate any song on this album to any song that Brockhampton has made, because they actually make really good music. But I guess just the way he was flowing, I don't know, it just reminded me of something that Brockhampton would do. In the number 5 spot, we have the song Damons. The beat on this song is just meh, you know, it's not horrible, not good, it's just whatever. The thing that kind of annoys me though is that you can barely hear X on this track or Joey Badass, because the beat is just too loud. The instrumental is way too loud. You can barely understand what they're saying. You have to like really listen. The one redeeming quality to this song is that Kemba's verse is actually pretty nice. He has a really nice flow, and his lyrics are packed with emotion because he's talking about dark times from his past. In the number 4 spot, we have the song X Bitch. This song is sweet sounding, although I will say that the guitars do sound a bit basic. Also, in terms of X's vocals, he's kind of just riffing on this song. Also, the flow is just boring, and the lyrics are kind of throwaway. The best thing going for this song is just the way it sounds. It's very sweet sounding. It sounds a little bit more uplifting. In the number 3 spot, we have Ecstasy. There is a very pretty vibe on this track, especially with the opening vocals from Noah Cyrus. Her vocals are genuinely beautiful at the start of this song. The beat is very spacey and atmospheric, but again, X is not very compelling on this song. The song really goes downhill, in my opinion, when the beat sort of switches up and there are these really terrible synths that come in. In my opinion, it just completely ruins what the song had going for it, and the instrumental just gets thrown out the window. It turns to shit after those synths come in. Also, Noah's singing all of a sudden after this change becomes a lot worse and just not compelling. In the number 2 spot, we have Royalty. In my opinion, this is actually one of the more enjoyable tracks on the album. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Kai Manny Marley singing on the chorus is actually pretty great, and in my opinion, it's the best part of the song. However, X is using this like Jamaican accent that he just cannot pull off. It sounds really annoying, and in my opinion, he sounds a lot better when he drops it towards the end of his first verse. Stefflon Don's verse is a little bit shorter than I would like, but it's good. Vibes Cartel's verse, in my opinion, is the weakest. It's okay, but it's nothing special. By the time I come to his verse, I will probably skip the song. And at the number 1 spot, the winner, ding ding ding, Limbo. Not that, you know, the song should be happy or anything, because wasn't really that much of a competition, to be real. In my opinion, this is the best song on the album, and it's probably the one song, along with Royalty, that I might actually return to. I might add it to like my playlist or something and listen to it for a little bit. This is actually not a bad track at all. Kill Station's singing is quite nice and adds an emotional edge to this song. The guitars in this song, unlike every other track that has come up in this album, actually add something to it. They aren't there just to be there. They actually fit, in my opinion. The beat is quite heavy, but in a good way. X's singing on this song is also a lot better, in my opinion. Way better than the majority of what came up on this project. And also, on top of that, I can at least understand what he's saying. So yeah, that's my favorite song, Limbo. Ultimately, what did I think of this album? I'm not gonna really, play. I'm not gonna try and fake it. I thought this was an absolutely horrible project. I haven't listened to, like, a shit ton of albums this year or anything. Like, I'm no Anthony Fantano listening to a bunch of records. However, this was the year that I listened to the most albums I ever have in my life. I've definitely been going through a lot of different sounds a lot more. I've been giving artists that I've never heard before a chance and actually seeing what they have to offer, and some of it has been good or amazing, and some of it has been, not that great. But I can very confidently say that this is the worst album I have heard this year. I don't know how many albums I've listened to this year. I mean, definitely like a decent amount, but I can, as I said, very confidently say that this is the worst project I've heard this year. It is absolutely horrible. In terms of songs that I liked, maybe Limbo and Royalty, and that's it. Everything else I would not return to, I would not listen to again, except for maybe like tiny little snippets of songs here and there, but it's just not worth it. I want to be able to listen to a whole song. This is, in my opinion, XXXTentacion's worst project. However, I'm not exactly going to blame Jase himself, because in my opinion, this is a horrible example of management. Whoever the fuck is running XXXTentacion's profile, whoever is putting out the music, is obviously just trying to milk every little bit of money they can from the fans that are still going to listen to this no matter what, because they're still emotionally invested in XXX as a person. And I totally get that. I'm sad about the fact that he passed away. I felt like he played a huge part in my life, but this is just gross, in my opinion. Whoever called the shots on this project, whoever brought in the producers and brought in all these features to put out this project, in my opinion, it's incredibly immoral to X. Just let the man fucking rest. He doesn't need to release any more albums. These are obviously some horribly leftover cuts from when he was alive, and then they found them, they decided to make them into full songs. I mean, they literally took verses and made like 9 filler tracks with X just repeating the same thing over and over again and putting these horribly lazy instrumentals in the background. Obviously, this is an attempt at marketing the fact that he has passed away and trying to make as much money as possible from it. I think it's absolutely disgusting, and it just shows in the quality of this album. This was not a faithful release to celebrate XXXTentacion. This was a cash grab. And the fact that this album has so much filler and is 25 tracks long, 20 fucking 5. It just shows that they're trying to rack up as many streams as possible from the people who are going to listen to this album once and then forget about it, because it is garbage. Very, very disappointed with this thing, and disappointed in whoever called the shots to release it, because it didn't need to be released. In the end, in terms of scoring this album, I am giving it a 1 out of 10. I was considering giving it a 0 out of 10, but being realistic, I do enjoy 2 songs on this album, but in proportion, I mean, that's literally like less than 10% of the album. One last time, very disappointed with this thing. Absolutely horrible release, and in my opinion, it should have never been released. 1 out of 10. But anyway, guys, that has been XXXTentacion, Bad Vibes Forever, top to bottom, done. And from this point on, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you smack the like button. If you want to stay up to date on my content, please be sure to subscribe. I'll have my last video in the corner. If you haven't checked that out already, definitely make sure to check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.